At 11 o'clock p.m., a Ukrainian Gogol-M mothership was on what was supposed to be a routine drop-off deep inside Russian airspace. Then, the operator saw the one signature he prayed he wouldn't, a Russian A-50 AWACS. Instantly, a simple stealth mission turned into a desperate countdown. Based on standard intercept protocols, he had exactly 90 seconds to deploy his cargo and dive for the tree line before a multi-million-dollar missile erased the entire operation from the map. But this high-stakes maneuver wasn't even the main event. It was just the cost of setting a trap 72 hours in the making. See, after the costly Kursk offensive, Russia was still operating with a classic imperial arrogance, thinking, "We are an empire, Ukraine is just an insect." Big mistake. Ukraine's answer was some serious MacGyver-level genius. Using a downed supercam drone, they hacked the software and mapped out Russia's entire resupply route through the dense Kursk forests. Then, the Gogol-M flew its 190-mile journey from Sumy, designed to plant one ghost crate and 4 FPV drones into the weeds beside a critical road. No ground vehicles, no tire tracks, zero signature. The target was a 3-mile-long Russian ammunition convoy. 40 Ural 4320 trucks hauling over 1.1 million pounds of 152mm shells, a desperate resupply after their failure at Pokrovsk. That's enough ammunition to fire 1 million artillery rounds, enough to potentially overwhelm Ukraine's defenses in Donetsk. But Ukraine had a different plan: turn it into the biggest fireworks show in history. So how do you get past all that? Watch the whole video to see Ukraine's smart strategy. 9:00 p.m. The Gogol-M mothership spooled up its engines. This wasn't some off-the-shelf drone, it was Ukraine's custom-built delivery system. Its mission was simple on paper, but a nightmare in practice. Fly 190 miles into one of the densest air defense networks on the planet without making a whisper. The flight plan wasn't programmed by a human. It was calculated by an AI called Smart Pilot. Think of it like telling Google Maps to find you a route with zero traffic. But in this case, the traffic is $1 billion worth of Russian radar systems. The AI plotted a path that was a complete radar black hole, a 50-foot-high corridor of pure stealth. With a low hum, it lifted off, carrying its precious cargo. 1 ghost crate and the 3 fiber optic FPVs that would act as the fangs of the trap. The drone was now fully autonomous, a ghost slipping through the night. The first phase, the infiltration, had begun. For the operators watching back in a bunker, the next 2 hours would be agonizing. Any unexpected radar pop-up, any deviation, and the entire 72-hour plan would be compromised before it even started. The board was set. The first piece was in motion. 2:47 a.m., the convoy lumbers into the kill zone right on schedule. The crew inside the Panzer S1 sees the blips light up their screens and probably high-fives each other. This is what their $20 million system was built for. 3 57E6 missiles scream off the rails at Mach 3 and slam into a completely empty patch of dirt, turning mud and grass into a momentary fireball. This is the military equivalent of a Fortune 500 company's entire network getting shut down because an executive clicked on a phishing email promising a free iPad. All that technology, all that training defeated by a cheap lure. But the real damage wasn't the wasted missiles, it was the panic. The lead truck driver, probably thinking he's under a massive artillery strike, slams on his brakes. In seconds, 40 Ural trucks, each weighing 10 tons, accordion into a 3-mile-long traffic jam from hell on a road barely wide enough for one. An officer is likely screaming into his radio, but there's nowhere to go. They're trapped, boxed in by their own incompetence. The element of surprise is gone. Now the stakes have been raised. The Russians know something is out there, and you can bet they've just made a panicked call for backup. The clock is ticking. 2:48 a.m. The Panzer system now has a mandatory 30-second reload cycle. For a system designed for rapid engagement, that's an eternity. And for Ukraine, that 30-second window isn't a pause, it's the starting gun. From the opposite side of the road, 3 silent shapes lift from the grass. No engine roar, no radio chatter, just the whisper of carbon fiber blades. These are the real predators, the ones with the fiber optic tethers. Now here's the masterstroke. The entire Russian electronic warfare strategy is built to detect and jam radio waves. It's the equivalent of a security system listening for footsteps. But these drones aren't walking. They're connected by a hair-thin fiber optic cable spooling out behind them. You can't jam a signal that's traveling through solid glass. The AI pilot immediately executes a beam maneuver, flying perfectly perpendicular to the Panzer's radar. See, a Doppler radar is great at tracking things moving towards or away from it. But something moving sideways, its velocity signature practically vanishes. It's like trying to hit a major league curveball in the dark. But here's the detail that separates a good plan from a brilliant one. The AI also calculated that a slight 5 miles per hour crosswind was shifting the radar waves by 3.6 degrees. It's an almost imperceptible change, but the AI adjusted the drone's flight path to match it perfectly, making their radar reflection completely indistinguishable from the background noise of the forest. The operators inside the Panzer are in full-blown panic mode now. Their screen is a blizzard of white noise as the drone's own tiny jammers add to the chaos. They fire again, blindly, sending another $1 million worth of missiles into the trees. They've punched through the first line of defense using pure intellect, but in doing so, they've kicked the hornet's nest. The Russians are blind, they're confused, and they're angry, and you can be damn sure they're about to call in the big guns. 2:49 a.m. Jamming a $20 million air defense system into uselessness comes with a price. It forces your enemy to escalate, and Russia's escalation just came online. The chaos on the ground has forced the A-50 AWACS, Russia's eye in the sky, to divert from its patrol and fly lower, its powerful look-down radar now sweeping the area with intense scrutiny. While the fiber-optic drones are invisible to it, the mothership is not. The Gogol-M, loitering miles away over the rolling hills, suddenly has its heat signature painted by a system that can track a fighter jet from 300 miles away. It's the equivalent of successfully sneaking past the security guards at the front desk, only to have the CEO spot you on his personal security camera from the penthouse. The Russians don't have a perfect lock, but they have a search area. And they respond with brute force. A massive 48N6 SAM is launched not at a specific drone, but in the general direction of the mothership. It's a Hail Mary pass made with a ton of high explosives. Back in a bunker in Sumy, sweat is trickling down the operator's temple. His screen is flashing with a catastrophic missile launch warning. The entire plan is seconds from literally going up in smoke. He's supposed to be focused on the attack run, but now he has to save the brain of the entire operation. Because the mothership isn't just the delivery truck, it's the command and control server. If it goes down, those 3 FPVs waiting patiently by the road, they become $2,000 paperweights. The ultimate stakes have just been revealed. The success of this entire mission, designed around a few cheap attack drones, now hinges on whether one very expensive mothership can dodge a missile the size of a telephone pole. 2:50 a.m. This is the moment where a good plan becomes a brilliant one. A plan that accounts for your enemy's most logical, most powerful response. Back in the Sumy bunker, the operator doesn't panic as the missile launch alert screams across his screen. He was counting on this. With a single keystroke, he plays his final card. That command awakens the 4th drone, the ace in the hole. This isn't another fiber optic attacker armed with an explosive payload. This is a dedicated interceptor, a $2,000 bodyguard whose entire existence has been engineered for one single glorious purpose. Screaming off the ground at 120 miles per hour, it doesn't fly at the incoming SAM. It rockets towards a precise intercept point in the sky, a kill box calculated by the mothership's AI in microseconds. This isn't a dogfight, it's a mathematical execution. As it reaches the apex of its climb, it deploys an ALE-50 towed decoy. Think of this less as a piece of military hardware and more as the ultimate act of digital deception. This tiny device ignites, instantly becoming the hottest thing in the sky. A blistering 1,500-degree thermal beacon that acts as a digital siren's call. It's designed to scream one irresistible message to any heat-seeking sensor within 100 miles. I am the real target! The multi-million-dollar Russian SAM, a pinnacle of Cold War engineering, is powerful, but it's not smart. Its seeker has the primitive reptile brain of a moth drawn to a flame. Compared to the decoy's overwhelming flare, the Gogol-M's heat signature is a dim light bulb in a hurricane. The missile's guidance system, utterly seduced, instantly abandons its original target. 2 miles away from the mothership, the night sky flashes with a massive, silent explosion as the SAM detonates harmlessly, its warhead vaporizing nothing but empty air and a 50-cent chemical pack. With its bodyguard having made the ultimate pre-planned sacrifice, the Gogol M banks hard, drops below the hilltops, and begins its long, silent journey back to base. The chessboard has just been wiped clean. Every single Russian defense, from the $20 million Panzer on the ground to the $100 million A-50 in the sky, has been outsmarted, jammed, or tricked. They shot at ghosts, they shot at decoys, and now the path to the real prize is wide open. For the convoy crew, stuck in their self-made traffic jam, the sudden silence is far more terrifying than the chaos ever was. 2:51 a.m. Instantly, the 3 fiber-optic drones rose from the grass and accelerated towards the paralyzed convoy. Their final journey wasn't guided by a simple GPS chip you'd find on Alibaba. Each drone used an INS GPS system locking onto WGS-84 coordinates with a precision of under 10 feet. This is the military equivalent of a SpaceX rocket's landing system, but instead of touching down gently, its job is to deliver a very violent package. They glided through the last stretch of the Kursk forest, their extended range wings turning gravity into a silent 80-mile-per-hour descent. The impact was an act of surgical precision. The first drone's shaped charge didn't just hit the lead truck, it punched through 2 feet of reinforced steel on the Ural's primary ammo container, exactly where the shells were stacked most densely. It was less like an explosion and more like a high-tech can opener. But this wasn't just a bigger bang, it was a physics lesson delivered at Mach 3. The genius wasn't in the explosive itself, but in the fuse. It was programmed with a precise 1.1 second delay. Why? Because that tiny delay allowed the warhead to get inside the sealed ammo container before detonating. It's the difference between knocking on the door and setting off a bomb in the living room. The result was a contained pressure wave that hit 10,000 pounds per square inch with absolutely nowhere to go. That pressure instantly cooked off the 1.1 million pounds of ammunition inside the first 20 trucks, releasing the energy equivalent of a 1 megaton tactical nuke. The shockwave, a moving wall of superheated air, vaporized everything within a 1-mile radius and ignited over 300,000 pounds of diesel fuel from the ruptured tanks. This created a chain reaction of pure structural collapse. The first truck's explosion acted as the detonator for the second, which triggered the third, turning the narrow forest road into a domino rally from hell. The secondary effect was a complete electronic blackout. The electromagnetic pulse from the blast didn't just destroy radios, it erased the Russians' entire local network. They didn't just lose their ammo, they lost their eyes and ears. Russia's premium delivery service for high explosives had just made its final, spectacular stop. Let's zoom out from the epicenter. The immediate aftermath on the ground was a masterclass in localized paralysis. The human cost for Russia was catastrophic. Over 200 soldiers, including 5 senior officers responsible for the entire Kursk logistics corridor, were removed from the equation. For the survivors, what followed was a frantic ballet of incompetence and cover-up. Now, we've seen Ukraine hit static ammo depots before, like the massive strike on Toropets, but this was different. This was an evolution. This was an ambush on a moving target, a demonstration that Ukraine had moved from static deep strikes to dynamic mobile interdiction. They didn't just hit the warehouse, they hit the Amazon delivery truck on its way to the customer. And this is where the real story begins. Because the explosion of one convoy in a forgotten forest sent shockwaves that would rattle the foundations of the entire Russian war effort and spill over into the global economy. This is the strategic domino effect. First, the military paralysis. When the brain is destroyed, the body stops moving. The electromagnetic pulse and the sheer chaos of the strike vaporized Russia's encrypted command network in the sector. For the next 72 hours, an estimated 1,000 Russian artillery pieces across the Donetsk front went silent. They were a $1 million orchestra with no conductor and no sheet music. This was a repeat of the Pokrovsk disaster, where a breakdown in logistics led to a frontline collapse, only this time it was self-inflicted on a strategic scale. Second, the logistics nightmare. This strike didn't just destroy one convoy, it injected a lethal dose of paranoia into Russia's entire supply chain. Other convoys were halted at the border, commanders refusing to move without new protocols. The cost of resupply, according to intelligence intercepts, shot up by 50% overnight as they were forced to use longer, less efficient routes. Ukraine effectively canceled Russia's Amazon Prime subscription. forcing them back to 3-week standard shipping over muddy back roads. This battlefield paralysis gave Ukraine the opening it needed. Within that 72-hour window of command chaos, Ukrainian forces pressed forward on 8 different fronts, reportedly recapturing over 5 miles of territory in the Kursk sector alone. Third, the geopolitical tremors. In Moscow, the news triggered a series of emergency meetings with Putin. The paranoia was compounded when, just a week later, the largest drone strike in history hit Moscow itself, proving that no part of Russia was safe. This 1-2 punch sent a shockwave through the global markets. Wall Street traders, seeing the instability, pushed the price of crude oil up by $20 a barrel. That price hike directly impacts Russia's biggest customers, India and China, forcing them to question the stability of their primary energy supplier. On the other side of the world, NATO went on high alert. Norway and Estonia scrambled jets in response to airspace violations by panicked Russian patrols. The US Congress, seeing a clear return on investment, fast-tracked a new $322 million package of ATACMS missiles for Ukraine. This attack demonstrated, in the most brutal fashion, the central thesis of modern warfare analysts at RAND and CSIS. Cheap, smart drones can systematically dismantle the logistics of a lumbering 20th century military machine, forcing a superpower to its knees without a single tank battle. Finally, the economic blowback. Russia didn't just lose over 1 million pounds of ammunition, they lost an estimated $5 billion in military assets and future logistical costs, a staggering blow to a wartime economy already buckling under 15% inflation. And so, with one Gogol-M, 4 FPV drones, and a $50 plastic box, Ukraine achieved an effect that 10,000 soldiers on the ground couldn't. That night, they proved that modern warfare isn't about who has the biggest gun, but who has the smartest plan. The lesson from this is simple. Don't get arrogant when you get new ammo. Instead, you might want to check the tall grass.